Close your eyes for a moment. Think back to a Saturday. Maybe you were a kid, maybe you were a teenager, maybe it was a date night, maybe it was just you and a couch. The lights go down, the screen flickers to life, and suddenly, there he is. A thick necked guy from South Philly, talking to turtles, stumbling through life with a grace that had nothing to do with grace at all. Rocky. It wasn't just a movie, it was a feeling. A feeling that you, too, awkward, overlooked, maybe a little beat up by life, could find something worth fighting for. And the people who gave you that feeling, they weren't just actors on a screen, they became part of the furniture of your memory. But here's the thing about time. It moves whether we're watching or not. 50 years have passed since Rocky hit theaters in November of 1976, since it won Best Picture, since it changed cinema, since it changed something in all of us. And today, we're going to look at the 5 people who made it what it was. Who they were then, who they became, and, for those we've lost, what they left behind. This story is complicated, it is human, and it will break your heart in the best possible way. July 6th, 1946. Hell's Kitchen, New York City. The birth itself was a battle. Forceps slipped during delivery, severing a facial nerve. The result, a drooping lip, slurred speech, a lopsided snarl that would one day become the most famous smile in American cinema. Before Rocky, Sylvester Stallone was nobody. Not a lovable nobody, just nobody. Evicted from apartments, rejected from auditions, broke enough that he once sold his dog Butkus to a stranger outside a convenience store. He got $500. He cried walking away. Then he wrote a script in 3.5 days, a script about a nobody who gets one shot. The studio wanted to cast Robert Redford. Stallone said no. He would only sell the script if he could star in it. They offered him $360,000 to walk away. He refused. He took $35,000 and the role. He bought his dog back. Rocky Balboa, the Italian stallion, was the soul of the film. The underdog who didn't win but went the distance. Who fought not for the title, but for himself. Stallone was 30 years old. He received an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor and Best Original Screenplay, making him only the 3rd person in history to achieve that double nomination in the same year, after Charlie Chaplin and Orson Welles. In 2026, Sylvester Stallone is 79 years old, weeks away from his 80th birthday, and the man refuses to slow down, which has become itself a source of both admiration and worry. He's currently filming season 4 of Tulsa King, the Paramount Plus crime drama where he plays a New York mob boss relocated to Oklahoma. He is producing I Play Rocky, a behind-the-scenes film about the making of the very movie that launched his career. A memoir is forthcoming, a Rambo prequel film, John Rambo, was just announced, with Stallone executive producing. But there are shadows. At the Kennedy Center Honors in December 2025, where he was celebrated for a lifetime of achievement, Stallone walked with a cane. He has spoken openly about 8 back surgeries, a metal plate in his neck, spinal fusion procedures, the accumulated wreckage of decades of refusing to use stunt doubles. He confessed with a shrug, "It adds up." And yet, just weeks later, he posted a gym video from his Palm Beach mansion, lifting heavy, arms still sculpted, writing beneath it, "Every year it gets harder and harder. That's why you gotta push harder and harder. Blood, sweat, and tears." The gym, he says, is spiritual for him. A sanctuary. The same man who once couldn't afford a sandwich is now one of the most recognizable human beings on the planet. And he is still, at nearly 80, fighting. Not a title, just time. You get the feeling Rocky Balboa was never really a character. He was always just a confession. April 25th, 1946, Queens, New York. She was born Talia Rose Coppola. Yes, that Coppola, Francis Ford Coppola's little sister. She changed her last name so she'd have to earn her place. And she did. When Stallone was struggling to cast Adrian, he remembered a quiet woman from The Godfather, eyes that held everything she refused to say. He asked for Talia Shire. She came to the audition in glasses, hair short, almost the opposite of what he'd imagined. But she was Adrian. She was Adrian. The shy girl from the pet shop who never believed she deserved to be loved turned Rocky from a boxing movie into something else entirely. A story about loneliness and about the terrifying risk of letting someone in. That performance earned her an Oscar nomination for Best Actress. She had already received one for The Godfather Part 2. 2 nominations, 2 of the most iconic films of the century. In 2026, Talia Shire is 79 years old, turning 80 this April. She has stepped back gracefully from the spotlight, supporting her sons' careers and living quietly. The creative legacy continues through Jason Schwartzman, through everything she passed on. Rocky called her name, and we all understood it wasn't just a name, it was an answer. April 30th, 1940, Queens, New York. His real name was Gerald Tommaso DeLuise. He dropped out of high school at 15, lied about his age to join the Marines, came home and laid carpet, then walked into Lee Strasberg's actor's studio and remade himself completely. Paulie Panino was loud, bitter, sometimes cruel, the kind of friend who loves you so deeply he can't stop hurting you. Burt Young understood that man from the inside. The Academy noticed a Best Supporting Actor nomination that year. Over 6 Rocky films, he softened Paulie without erasing him, its conscience despite itself. What most people didn't know, in his later years, Young was a serious painter. Gallery shows around the world, his actual canvases appearing in Rocky Balboa, 2006. A published author, a playwright, a man of astonishing interior depth that the world only partially saw. On October 8, 2023, Burt Young passed away in Los Angeles. He was 83. Stallone wrote that night, "You were an incredible man and artist." In 2026, he would have been 85. Paulie lives on, growling, aching, always showing up. January 14th, 1948, New Orleans, Louisiana. He played linebacker for the Oakland Raiders. He earned a theater degree. He walked into a Rocky audition with no boxing knowledge, told the casting directors to find him a real actor and he'd do better, and got the role. Apollo Creed arrived on screen like a thunderclap, arrogance dressed in sequins, and then, across 4 films, something rarer, a worthy friend. His death in Rocky IV remains one of the most devastating moments of that decade. Beyond Rocky, Predator, Happy Gilmore, Arrested Development, and at the end of his life, a triumphant return as Greef Karga in The Mandalorian, earning an Emmy nomination. He never stopped. He never coasted. On February 1st, 2024, Carl Weathers died peacefully in his sleep in Los Angeles. He was 76. The Mandalorian and Grogu is moving forward. Greef Karga will not be there. That absence will be felt. What Carl Weathers understood was that dignity was not the opposite of struggle. It was the result of it. Apollo Creed taught a generation that. Carl Weathers lived it. November 16, 1907, Cleveland, Ohio. By the time Burgess Meredith stepped into Mighty Mick's gym, he had already lived 3 lifetimes. Shakespeare on Broadway, service in World War II, blacklisted during the McCarthy era, losing years of work with a single accusation. He always came back. He was 68 years old when Rocky was filmed. Mickey Goldmill was everything Meredith had absorbed in 7 decades of being alive. Gravel-voiced, furious, unexpectedly tender. A man who had watched his own dreams turn to dust and was now desperately trying to save a young man from the same fate. His performance earned him his 2nd Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor. The Academy never gave him the statue. The audience always knew what he was worth. Mickey died in Rocky III. They called Meredith back for a flashback in Rocky V. Even beyond the grave, they couldn't let him go. On September 9th, 1997, Burgess Meredith died at his home in Malibu. He was 89. In 2026, he would have been 118. His voice is still in those films, still raspy, still urgent.
Get up, you son of a bitch!
We still get up when we hear it. 50 years. 3 of these 5 people are gone now. Burt Young, Carl Weathers, Burgess Meredith. And yet, they are all still there on screen, alive in every rewatch. In every moment, someone climbs those 72 steps in Philadelphia and raises their fists and feels impossibly like they just won something. Stallone turns 80 this July, still in the gym, still fighting time. Talia Shire turns 80 this April, living quietly, carrying a legacy that doesn't need noise to endure. Rocky wasn't about boxing. It was about the terrifying act of trying, of showing up even when you know you might not win, of going, as Rocky himself put it, the distance. If this kind of story moves you, subscribe and ring the bell. Every week we go the distance on another story worth telling. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.